Welcome to XYPN Radio, where your host Alan Moore brings you into a community of fee-only financial planners who want to profitably and successfully serve Gen X and Gen Y clients. If you're ready to get the knowledge you need from leaders in your field, learn from forward-thinking advisors, and take action on your own goals, XYPN Radio is the show for you. Here's your host.
Hello and welcome to this episode of XYPN Radio. I am your host, and today I am really excited to have on the show André, a financial advisor in Brazil. Now, André and I initially connected back in 2014, but thanks to Marcio, one of our founding members, we were recently reconnected, and after hearing his story, I knew we had to have him on the show as quickly as possible. André has built a financial advisory firm in Brazil with over 3,000 clients, all of which are on monthly retainers, which makes him the largest monthly retainer firm that I'm aware of. Oh, and he doesn't do assets under management. It's all retainers. He shares some amazing details about his practice, including why he monitors dreams under management instead of assets under management, his sales process for signing up new clients for a monthly fee equivalent to 5% of their income, and how he is now growing his firm using an online educational portal to sort of build out his sales funnel. You're not going to want to miss a word of this interview. You can find any of the additional resources that we mentioned during the episode at xyplanningnetwork.com/87. In addition to the typical resources, you'll find a link to our recently launched book, co-authored by Kitsis and myself, titled The Monthly Retainer Model: What It Is, Why It Works, and How to Implement It in Your Firm. This month's podcasts are brought to you by life insurance innovator Haven Life. Haven Life Insurance Agency offers the first non-commission term life insurance that your clients can buy entirely online. The prices are affordable, the application process is simple, and the policies are fully backed by Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company. Plus, some qualified, healthy applicants can even be approved for coverage without the need for a medical exam. This is life insurance the modern way. Visit havenlife.com/advisors to learn more about how Haven Life is partnering with fee-only financial advisors. Please note that the opinions expressed by participants on the podcast are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of Haven Life. Visit havenlife.com/advisors. Also, be sure to go to xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP to join our private group just for XYPN Radio listeners. You can interact with other listeners, ask us questions, and more. Without further ado, here's my interview with André. Hey, André, welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you, Alan. It's a great pleasure, a great honor.
So I'm excited because I was actually looking back through my emails and I found an email from 2014 when you and I first connected right around the launch of XYPN. And then we were reconnected by one of our founding members, Marcio, had said, hey, you need to talk to André. And I was like, I recognize this guy's name and story, but I can't place it. And so I was digging through my emails and I was able to find where you emailed me when we launched XY Planning Network. And you said, hey, we're doing something similar to the model that you promote in Brazil, which is awesome because I had no idea. So I guess to kick things off, a career path for financial planners sort of similar in Brazil as it is for financial in the U.S. Like, do you go to school to become a financial advisor?
Not really. We don't have a school in here. So, for example, in Brazil, you can go to school to become a doctor or a dentist, an engineer, but there are no schools for you to become a financial planner. So it's something that you end up developing usually later in your career. That happens quite a lot. But also some people, some younger people are, when they are on graduate school, they are beginning to understand that there is a broader universe world in the financial industry. Usually those guys, they end up going to banks or brokers, but step by step, little by little, here in Brazil at least, people are understanding there is another kind of profession such as the one that we work with. But no, there's not a school, so the path is not as linear or not as well known. I don't know if that's correct from the United States perspective, but it's not something that you graduate. You know what I mean? It's something that you choose, usually later on.
Yeah, and it has been that way in the U.S. for a long time. We're just now starting to see, we're about 10 years into a lot of the big financial planning programs at universities. So, they're picking up traction, but the vast majority of financial planners in the U.S. sort of went that same route that you're talking about. They got a degree in finance. They ended up at a bank or a brokerage and sort of, fell into financial planning. So how did you discover financial planning? What was your career path?
Wow, that's an interesting story. When I was 17, I went to the United States to play basketball. Can you believe that? I used to play
That's
here.
awesome.
Yes, it is. I'm a fairly tall guy. I'm 6. Here, we use a different metrics here in Brazil, but according to yours, I'm like 6'4". I think that's it. I'm not sure. Well, but when I went to the United States, I ended up living in a house. I used to call him like American Dad, and he was a financial planner. And that called my attention. I mean, I would be lying to you if I would say, you know what, when I was 17, I had that vision that one day I would become. No, that would not be realistic. All I wanted to do when I was 17 was just to become a basketball player. But what called my attention, Alan, was the fact that this American Dad would come back home every evening, and he usually talked to us, and I was in the family, about his experiences throughout the day, the people that he met, the stories that he was told, and how he could help, serve, and guide people. And that, some way, somehow, got my attention. Because it's a very different perspective from my dad in Brazil. He used to work with fertilizers here in Brazil. It's a big country, so he used to travel a lot. So when he was home, all he wanted to do was to enjoy family and rest. I mean, very fair, right? So in the U.S., for the first time, I had this perspective. Wow, there's a profession that somehow you can unite family and work and have something very of that and something that you enjoy talking. So that's how I got my first contact. Then I came back to Brazil after 1 year and 1 day, exactly. Went to graduation school, did business school. I had a first business when I was 20. I ended up selling that to a bank. I had a internet business, a startup. I was able to cash in some good value when I sold that business. And then I, out of thin air, decided, you know what, I'm going to try that. I'm going to start talking to people about how they live their lives, how they work with their money, how do they make decisions regarding money and life. And as a first stop, if I can say that in my career, I went to the church that I'm a member. It's a Presbyterian church here in Brazil. And I began to talk to people about that. And they kind of opened up some opportunities for me to talk maybe to 10 people, sometimes to 20 people, sometimes to 5 people. And then I ended up having my very first clients, not knowing what to do in the second meeting. So meeting number 1 is over. Then I thought to myself, you know what? Good. It's over. I've done it. I did it. Now, what do I do tomorrow? I had no idea. So I had to come up with this methodology, and then pretty much 12 years went by, and now we are, as a company, in a different position, having a methodology, having a group of planners in my company. We have our own technology. But that was pretty much it. If I could tell you, I just started. I believed in the vision of having a life where I could merge work and family and transformation. Transform people, be able to raise my family, which is something that I love. I'm passionate for kids. I have 2 of my own. Being a financial planner, I can truly unite all that. So that's pretty much the beginning of my story.
Oh man, you're giving me chills. It's just an amazing story to hear. Oh my gosh, it's such the story of an entrepreneur, right? That, and you sort of gloss through it, but you started your own business at 20 and sold it, which is amazing and impressive in and of itself. But, then to sort of dive into financial planning, not really knowing how you were going to do it, just knowing the end result that you wanted. So just to give some context, so that was 12 years ago that you decided you wanted to get into financial planning and started having those first meetings without a plan for the second meeting. Where is your company at today, just in terms of, advisors and clients, or in the US, we always talk about assets under management, but however you sort of define the size of your firm?
Oh, that's a great question. So right now we are 45 fee only and financial planners. We only charge our clients. It's not assets under management based. We charge a monthly retainer. 98% of our clients, they pay us through their credit cards. And we are serving, as we speak, 3,000 families, 3,047 families as of last Friday. I have a report every week of how we are doing. We don't have this number, assets under management, but we have a different metric. We work with dreams under management. And that's one of the metrics that we have in the company. And what is like dreams under management. So let's say that, I have $100,000 right now. That's my asset. But on perspective, in order to retire the way that I want to have the house that I want to have, to take care of my kids' graduation the way I want to, I'll have to have a future value of $2 million monies, right? $2 million, let's say. So that's what we add up as dreams under management. And when we talk about that, right now, we are serving families, we are helping families. I'm going to talk about, I can do that math. In US dollars, we are talking about $12 billion on dreams under management. But again, it's the future value of your dreams, right? We all know how to do that calculation. We pretty much all know how to do financial mathematics. But that's one of the main metrics that we have. You know what? If we are able to really serve those people, that's the amount of value that we are going to create as a money translation of their dreams. So that's the number that we focus on.
That is fascinating. I've never heard of an advisor focusing on that. How do you track that? Is it just pulling out of your software sort of the future value of whatever you're targeting, or do you manually track that? I mean, how are you keeping tabs on this, dreams under management?
That's part of a broader methodology, how you create that translation as a number of a future value. Yes, that ends up being recorded in our software, and then we add up all that. So for example, 3,000 families, they usually have at least 4 or 5 dreams that we end up tracking, big ones, right? You can have like small dreams, and we work. That's how we work. For example, as a small dream, I'm gonna give you like a tiny one. I want to go to a theater this weekend, and that's part of our conversations with clients because there's money involved. But not only money, you have to plan to make all that. Sometimes it sounds silly. You don't have to plan to go to the theater, but you know what? In real life, sometimes we say, you know what? I'm going to go to the theater. And then I'm going to go to the theater. And then a month from today, you know what? I'm still going to the theater, but I haven't actually done it, right? Sometimes it's on the ordinary, simple stuff that we build the extraordinary, bigger dreams. So that number that I just gave you, it's about those 4 or 5 big ones. And how we get there, it's a series of conversations with families. For example, one of the biggest ones, because there's more time to it, would be retirement. 70% of our clients are under the age of 35. 70%. So Brazil has a very different landscape, probably comparing to the United States. Our demographics is a bit younger. And because we had a very high inflation until 1994, like my parents' generation, planning wasn't in their radar. It wasn't in their mental model of how to live their lives. Because we had like a 30% inflation per week. So how do you how do you have a vision of your next 30 years if you have no idea about what's going to be the name of your currency, what's going to be your inflation? So that's the market that we are working right now. And from my perspective, the name of the market that we have in Brazil is opportunity, because we can change the face of our demographics by designing a life using financial planning. And that's a broader vision that we have. So we get to those numbers by a series of conversations. The principle, the main one would be retirement. And then the main idea is, I'm going to try to give this perspective to you guys in US dollars. But let's say that, you know what, I want to retire and I want to have $10,000 as a monthly income. And that's as of today, okay? So what we do is we multiply that by 250, imagining that your assets will be able to generate 0.4% every month to you. So you either divide 10,000 per 0.4%, 0.04%, or you multiply by 250. So if you're talking about 10,000 a month, multiply by 250, that's $2.5 million. And then we create the future value of that, because this is today. But in Brazil, we still have something around 6 to 7% a year inflation. So we have to do that calculation. How much will I need as a monthly income in 30 years to have the equivalent of 10,000 today? And that number, that final number, would be the dream under management. So now we have to manage that throughout the next 360 months, 30 years. And from a business perspective, I kind of help my client having a vision of long term. So the relationship with a financial planner is not something like, let's have a conversation, let's set up a plan and follow the plan. It's much more of an ongoing relationship that has ups and downs that we need to keep on working because perspective changes. From a business perspective, that's good because we have recurring revenue, right? And we have a bigger valuation when we somehow master the idea of showing to our clients, we are talking about younger people, your life will be designed in the next 30, 35, maybe 40 years. Who is ready to live 100, 120? And who has their money ready to live 100, 120-year life? So that's the perspective that we try to engage our clients.
I think that's fascinating because I almost look at this as in the U.S. it's sort of traditional planning is we always focus on, we have these assets and there's a 75% chance based on our current savings rates that we'll achieve our goals. You've sort of flipped that on its head and said, here's the finish line. The finish line is, $2.5 million inflated in 40 years. And that's the dream under management. And you can track the progress towards that dream over time. So instead of being so focused on where are things today, it gets them very focused on where are things going, which I imagine has implications in terms of sort of the sales process and having clients sign up and pay this monthly fee because the focus is so much on the finish line and less about, how much value am I getting today for the money I'm spending? And it's more about how much value am I getting in the long term for sort of where we're going. I just feel like that helps to show them value of financial planning.
I have to agree with you. And one other thing is when you manage to help your client to have a broader vision, a longer vision, I think you also bring peace to the table. Because we are not going to rush on anything. And if the market doesn't perform well 2017, you know what? We are here for the long run. That's much more of a marathon and not a 100 meters sprint race that we are managing to create. And also you create a narrative for adding value. And of course, from another perspective, you as an advisor, you have to be very creative, and you need to be always learning, and you need to be always engaging yourself on different trainings and developing different abilities. But again, that's so awesome to me, because this is a kind of profession that, of course, it's important what you know, but it's way more important. Therefore, there's much more value to you and your client on what you are about to be knowing in the future, and being able to translate that to your client from his context, from his perspective. So I agree with you. It helps the selling process when you are able to, you know what, that's a 30, 40-year road that we are about to go. And in our sales process, we try to make sure that our clients understand that. And if they want something faster, we need to have the responsibility to tell them, that's not us. And it's kind of magical when you say, I'm totally willing to introduce you to some other people who can do that faster to you. But if you agree with my vision of a 40, 30 years relationship, I'm sure that you have no better place to go. Would you like to know someone else? You know, that's as a customer, I would love to have this kind of clarity when talking to someone. And by delivering clarity, they end up delivering us back trust. And that's our main asset, right? You know that better than me. So that's how I see the whole picture.
So many, we could just go so many different directions. We're going to cover as much ground as we can here. How do you actually determine a client's fee? So you said you charge them a monthly fee, and you have this sort of dreams under management that you're tracking. So how do you actually determine what their fee is going to be to you?
We have here only two instructions or rules per se, but that's not like 10% of the importance of the whole process that we do. So first I'm going to tell you about the two numbers, the two rules that we have, and then I'm going to go over the process. So the two rules is, number one, our minimum fee is $500 of our money, right? You can divide that by 3. So that would be around a little less than $200 a month. As we speak, our average fee is more towards $500 a month, right? So we have this as a minimum fee. And also on top of that, we don't want to go over 5% of the monthly income of our clients. And on average, we are around 3.5% of their income. 1 minute, I'm going to go over the process. But if you add those two rules together, minimum fee, $500. It doesn't matter which currency we are using, okay? Minimum fee, $500, and we don't want to go over 5% of their income. So, as an income, we are talking about $10,000 a month, okay, to be our clients. To have a perspective in US dollars, you can divide all that by 3. How do we present that to clients? First, we don't present that in a first meeting, only if they ask. If they ask, of course, sign of respect, we need to deliver clarity, and of course we answer. But in our first meeting, our number one goal is to help them understand that they need to have a commitment with their life plan first. And then, if we deserve, with us. There's a very good story that I love, and it's a true story, about how, Charles Darwin, right? He had a journal when he was alive. And, of course, he did a lot of tracking and notes about his discoveries, his scientific studies, and etc. But also he had some personal notes. And one of those notes says about which process he used to get married. And that teaches us a lot about how to get clients. So you know what Charles Darwin, how do you say Darwin or Darwin? How do you pronounce it? Darwin.
We pronounce it Darwin, yep.
So what's the relationship, right? So I'm going to tell you that real fast. So on his personal notes, he said, one day, Darwin decided to get married. So that's a true story. On one side of his journal, he thought about what are the positive aspects of having someone, of being a married man. And on the other side, what are the negative aspects of that? So positive aspects. When I get home, I'll have someone to talk. When I have someone that's going to take care of me, I'll be able to reproduce and have kids and so on. Negative aspects. You know what? When I get home, I'll have to talk to someone every day. So he was kind of balancing positives and negatives about getting married. And then he decided, and that's so clear in his journal, I will be a married man. I will get married. Then process number 2, who will I get married with? And then he ended up, again, right, Darwin, a very scientific guy. He decided to see the positive and negative aspects of all of the girls that he knew at the time. And he ended up choosing to marry a woman named Emma. And they remained married for their entire life. So, what does Darwin and the way that he got married teaches us? Number 1, first and above all, he was married with the concept of marriage before choosing someone. You know why? Because people fail. And that's how we try to develop our relationship with our potential clients. So first, they need to marry with the concept of planning their lives, of planning their finances. And if they are secure with that, then we present how we can help them. Of course, if you are the guy delivering the process of establishing a true connection between you and your planned life, between you and your better version that emerges from your planned life, you have trust, therefore, to show you, how about if I can guide you through that? How about if I can position myself as a guy that can help you, that can make that path a little easier, more productive, and more efficient to you? So meeting number 1 is all about Darwin marrying the concept of marriage. So meeting number 1 is all about the client marrying the concept of being planned. Then we ask them to, you know what, now I want you guys to go back home, think about all that we talked, and we're going to meet again in a week. But we are only going to meet if you tell me that makes sense. I am committed to the hard choices, to the sometimes deep conversations that we need to have in order to create a life deserved of being well lived. And in order to do that, you need to take care of your money, right? And then meeting number 2 is when we talk about ourselves. So meeting number 1 is all about they talking about themselves in the perspective of marrying the concept. Meeting number 2, and then when we talk about the price, we have like 2 to 3 questions that we can somehow know what's their income. And I don't know if you guys have this kind of barrier in the US, but here in Brazil, Latin people, to ask someone, how much money do you make, is not a very direct, natural question.
It's very difficult. Yep. It deals with money. Anything dealing with money is a tough subject.
So it's pretty much the same. But again, think about this way. If before that you build trust and you somehow challenge them to tell you that you can be their guide, before talking about how do we work, how much does it cost, when you talk to them about the concept, before talking to them about the format, you end up an avenue of trust that you can use to ask, do you have debt? How much money do you have invested? What's your income? And then we begin as planners to build a design that, you know what, if I charge you this, I know it's going to make sense to you. But of course, let's be practical. Sometimes clients ask, Andre, I'm not sure, maybe that's a little too expensive for me. Then, again, in our profession, we cannot be afraid to sell because what we deliver is awesome. Awesome. I have this picture. If, of course, it's a like supernatural view that I have or kind of impossible, but I still have that view. If 100% of Brazilians were planned, what kind of country would we have? A better country or a worse country? No doubts. A much better one. A much better one. So I sell because I have a vision. Not because I want to make money, but because I have a vision. And then selling, sometimes we need to ask the clients. Let's say that, so client, he makes 10,000 money per month. And we charge them 800. Okay? I'm above 5%. Let's say that sometimes that happens. It's not what we want, but it might happen. And then he said, you know what, I think that's expensive. When you have someone telling you that's expensive or that's not for me, you need to build perspective. People take better decisions when they have perspective and contrast. And when I talk about contrast is option number 1, option number 2. Option number 3, 4, 5, 6, you end up confusing your client and they don't take decision. So option number 1, option number 2. So option number 1 is you can continue with your life the way that you are taking care of your life. What does that mean? You have 100% of your income to manage. And you know what kind of quality, what kind of well-being, what kind of version of your life you are being able to create by having 100% of your income. Now, let's say that's one perspective. The other one, only 2. Let's say that you hand me 8%, 6%, 7%, 5%. Okay, let's say 5%, 500 out of 10,000. And you do that for 1, 2, 3, I'm going to say at least 3 to 4 months. Because we need some time to produce something that you can evaluate better. So, 3 to 4 months of your life, you end up delivering me, trusting me 5% of your income. That's the second perspective. Out of the second perspective, we only have 2 final destinations. Destination number 1. You know what? My life hasn't improved. So, you cancel. Simple as that. And we are able to remain friends. And that might happen. There is a possibility that happens, especially if you haven't yet committed yourself to the concept of marrying the marriage, of marrying the concept of having your planned life. Now, second final destination, 4 months from now. You know what? With 95% of your income, you are doing more than you used to do when you had 100%. And we are just starting. And it gets better every year. And your income will grow, potentially not in the same aspect that my fee will grow. We can talk about that later, Alan, how we do that, how we raise fees, yes. So we sometimes, when I talk about sometimes, it's like talking to my team, it's 2 every 10 times. We need to have this level of clarity about the money transactions regarding fee, income, and etc. 8 out of 10, people end up, you know what, that makes total sense, right? So let's jump right in. And of course, most of our clients come from word of mouth, so we used to do that more than we do today. But every semester, I have new planners joining the company, and they have to start So, and that's how they start. They start with clarity, always, always. Building trust, delivering clarity. So that's the decision that we ask people to make. And if they still think that there's a probability that it might not work, so what does it mean? 4 months of your life, you made a bet somehow. You dedicated 5% of your income to improve your life, and it didn't work. If you take a picture 30 years from now, will that make a huge difference in your life? Probably not. And if you make that bet, and it works, 30 years from now, wow, that's like a different game. That's a different level of mindset. And then when clients see that, they think, you know what, this being sincere to me, there is a chance of not working it out. But my bet is so small that I'll jump in. I'll go on board. And then that's all about delivering, and then that's about the methodology and technology that we have. But I don't know if I gave you a good answer. It's about having a vision of how would the United States of America be if 60, 70, 80% of the families would have a life financial planning in place. What kind of country would it be? And you know what? You have to sell to make that vision a reality.
And that's the thing, is you just have such an amazing sales process. I mean, for lack of a better term, it's the ability to keep clients focused on the long term, to put things into perspective. Because here in the US, I find that, our sweet spot is somewhere between 1% and 2% of income. So anything over 2%, folks just don't sign up. That's just sort of their limit. And you're living in this world of 5%, which is just unheard of, because the ability to sell the value on the planning. So I just want to clarify, just so that I'm sure I'm clear on this. You don't charge for assets under management. You don't even do assets under management, right? You only charge this monthly fee. Do you actually help with the assets under management, or do you actually help with the investment management and simply don't charge a separate fee for it?
We, regarding investments, what we do, again, we try to simplify the whole investment landscape. In Brazil, it is already a simplified landscape. But even being simpler than the United States, we still simplify that. And then we teach our clients how they can interact with investment managers. It's like we try to position ourselves as the head coach of the family, but they need someone that's more specialized in that part of investments. But when you teach them how to simplify, how to live a better life, and you know what? There's so much noise in the investment world that they, again, end up trusting us better. We have, and one of the positive aspects of that is when the market goes down, and of course, here in Brazil, we have financial planners that are much more focused on the investment aspect, right? And they do an amazing job. But when the market goes down, and they do, right, volatility, especially when you see 30 to 40 years, it's going to happen multiple times, their businesses go down. Ours don't go down, because there's no relation into that. So sometimes planners, they see themselves as victims of markets and of their clients' behavior. But actually, if you charge for investment, you are not a victim. You are an agent of that. And we need to have that perspective, right? Stop
because
lying to them.
You're basing your business on the market, which you can't control.
Exactly. So we have a very complete suite of online trainings, and our software, and even our advisors, they go very often on their trainings about how to teach people about investments. And then we empower them to make better choices. And again, that's only my perspective. I truly believe that that's what young adults want. They want to be empowered. They want to be the heroes of their own investments. So you should not position yourself as another hero, because you will, consciously or not, end up competing. You should position yourself much more as a guide. My clients, they want to be Luke Skywalkers of investments. I'm okay being Yoda. So that's how we deal with that.
So you mentioned online training. Do you have online courses and trainings for your clients, or that's how you train your advisors, or both?
As we speak, we have both. But for clients, we just launched a new platform last October. It's a different brand that we created. It's something like, there's a different name powered by the name of my company, right? So there is a connection. And it's much more focused on the soft aspects of life planning. And it's like an enter gateway for clients to our universe. So they see better how we think, what we believe, and how we deliver what we deliver. So, and something kind of magical happened. When I launched that last October, I have to tell you, I was kind of afraid of delivering a wrong message to the market, something like, I don't believe in the one-on-one market anymore. I mean, one-on-one, I mean planner and one family. So I want to go digital. I don't want to be brick and mortar anymore. I want to go I don't know how my team would see it, how the market would see it. But since we launched, our business, our planner business exploded. I mean, we are growing like crazy. More and more people have access because it's cheaper also, right? Like, the practical, it's way, way cheaper. It's like 1/20th of what we would charge a planner client. And there is tons of value in that. Of course, in order to do that, I produced content. So it wasn't only me with my cell phone recording a message. I took care of a not huge, but a fairly big production. We studied how people learn, how people engage online. And we are having tons of fun doing it. So now we have this offer. My dream would be, you want to be a planner client? So first, go through that. Because you will become a better client. You will end up having more tools to work with a planner and extract from that relationship more value. And somehow, that's what's happening. It's still a very young thing, but we are having a cool perspective on that.
That's awesome. And you're seeing that those folks are now starting to become financial planning clients because it's sort of this gateway or entry level model, and it's already having positive effects. Yep.
And then they say, how about if I go to the next level? And sometimes as entrepreneurs, business owners, we need to create this grid for people to, I'm willing to go to the next step, but somehow I want a sample, but I would pay for that because it's well produced, there's value, and they end up paying. If you promote well, they end up paying. But because you deliver so much value and you care about people, they end up thinking it's kind of creating that sense of one day I will be able to hire those guys. So you become desirable. When you deliver value, I'm not saying deliver value for free. Okay, we do that, but we have our own way of doing it. But you know what I'm talking about. People end up, I want to do business with you. So that's the motor that we are trying to create here.
That's so awesome. I love that model, and especially the fact that you're seeing so much success off of it. I do want to circle back to the one comment that you made, because raising fees is always a concern, because especially with monthly fees, unlike assets under management, which just go up over time, obviously it goes down as well, but we hope that markets go up and they're saving money. So, over time, we get to raise our fees more easily with assets under management than when you charge a monthly fee where they have to see the fee being paid. So how do you approach that conversation with clients? And I guess how often do you reassess, does the fee still make sense or does it need to go up or go down?
We have two ways of doing it. One, because we still have some inflation in Brazil. So every year, and that's kind of common in Brazil to have every kind of bill that you pay raised at least by inflation. So every 12 months, we automatically, and that's very clear in our contract, we automatically readjust the fee. It's not a raise, right? It's an adjustment by inflation. But that's automatic, and everybody understands that. There's no challenge and there's no glamour in being able to do that. Another way that we do that, and that's the way that I like. We are not very worried about raising fees. We are worried about delivery value by charging the correct fee. So what do I mean by that? Being very practical. Sometimes what we actually do to raise fees is to lower fees. And let me explain that. So let's say that you are my client and we start working and I ended up charging 5% of your income. And now I know how your budget works. I know I have a clear, because we have software that does all that, I have a clear vision of your cash flow. And because I care, and because I'm responsible, and because I don't have to pay any duties to anyone, it's you and me, our relationship, and that's valid for all my planners. They are their own bosses. Alan, I think that I should lower my fee. And if you accept, please don't see that as a sign of disrespect. I would like to lower my fee to 3% of your income because I know that that's going to help you now achieve on short term what you need to achieve to become a better version. And my dear friend Alan, trust me when I say that. When you do that, when your client, I'm not saying that 100% of them do that, but I'm saying that by statistics, way more than 50% of them do that. When their life changes and their income grow and they learn how to create more margin, more space in their lives, including their financial lives, sometimes they come to you and say, I think we should raise your fee. It's not about the fee that you charge. It's about the balance that you create between being well compensated and delivering value. And if you do that truly, really, not too much on the business aspect of that, but care about your client's story, your client's life, they will, by reciprocity, care and take care of your life and your business. Another perspective. Sometimes when you invite your client to lower your fee, you know what happens in the next 2 to 3 to 4 months? Boom, the referrals go way up high. So maybe that 2 points percent that you lowered your fee, you could see that as your investment on your marketing or your commercial side of your business. And when you do that math, your ROI is amazing because the client that comes to you through a referral that you don't have to ask for, but you end up being presented with, is a way much better client that engages in the process. Again, just think it this way. You have cable TV in your house, and then one day your cable TV calls you and says, yeah, hey, Alan, you know what, somehow, I don't even know if that's legal or not, but we paid attention to how you use our service. And you use so little, you don't watch TV, and usually 90% you're watching the same 2 to 3 channels. We would like to make an offer to you, Alan, and we would like to lower what you pay us because that's fair. Are you going to love that company? Are you going to be like an ambassador of that company? That's how business should be done in a world. Care about what's fair, what's a good balance between value and deliverable. And that's what we try to do in here.
So how often are you doing that? I mean, what percentage of your clients do you say it's 5%, so now we're going to go down to 3%? Is that just part of the process for every client?
No. That's so low. Even sometimes in the hiring process, I mean, that's very rare, but sometimes we say that. You know what, if together, it's not only me, if we together evaluate and think that that's above what you can pay and have value of your investment on me, trust me, I will invite you to lower the fee that you pay me. But I don't have an exact number, but by talking to my team, and we talk very often, I could be secure of what I'm saying. It's like 1 every 40 clients, maybe, or even less than that. Clients, they don't know that we can do that, but that's not important. But the importance is our planners, they not only know that they can do it, but they understand that it's the right thing to do. Again, it's not a business strategy. It's like a way of building life, building trust, building relationships, just doing the right thing. That's how I see it. It's not very complex, really.
So what are you working on now going forward? I mean, you have this vision of, what would happen if Brazil was 95%, working with a financial advisor. You're building this, by US standards, this very large financial advisory practice with 3,000 clients and growing. I mean, that you probably have the largest monthly retainer business that I'm aware of. I don't know any advisors in the US that have 3,000 clients on a monthly retainer or even close. So just rolled out this educational platform. So I guess what's next for your firm? What are you seeing that you're going to be working on?
This digital platform is taking quite a bit of my time right now. I'm really focused on that, on really not only creating a product, but creating an experience to our clients. So this year, second semester, we are beginning to do a grand tour on big cities in Brazil. And we are going to do some live events. We're going to invite people to go to some live events to discuss their life, their money, and etc. We are also launching a Planners Academy here in Brazil. So what we just talked about, how to really create a business. I can tell you that with security now, and I'm not only speaking for myself. It's a team effort. We know how to make pretty much anyone who feels in their heart that they want to guide people, that they want to help people. We know how to transform anyone with that motivation into a very successful planner. It's a very slow process. It's a very responsible process, but we know how to connect every single dot. I'd have no one to talk to. I know how to teach you how to have your first 5 meetings, and out of them, your next 10 meetings, and then your next 20 meetings, and so forth. So we are launching this Academy of Planners here in Brazil, targeted to planners, because I want to grow my team. I want to go from 45 until the end of not this year, but next year. I want to go from 45 to 100. In our digital platform, we want to have 10,000 people by the end of next year.
I love that you do not dream small. And so you're going to use this academy for advisors as a way to educate advisors and then recruit them to come work for you. Is that sort of the thought process?
Exactly. So we're going to get the top ones, the best ones, the ones that we feel that, you know what, there's a good match between you and our culture and our vision. This is not a place get rich fast. It's much more a place of getting to know people, the psychological aspect of engaging someone on a deep conversation about life and money, because to me, they are so super connected. And then we're going to grow the company from that. And we also have some challenges and a very full roadmap on improving the technology that we have. Because when I started the company, I wanted to have our own piece of technology, a technology that would serve the relationship of a planner and a client by a methodology. Because usually we have technology in the market, but then you hire the technology and you have to adapt your methodology to the already established technology. I somehow inverted this process. We had a methodology centered on one-on-one meetings, planners and families, and then I created a technology to serve, to become, to transform that process in a more productive thing. And we still have a lot to cover on the technology ground.
That's awesome. It's so cool to hear what you're working on. One thing, I just get amped up talking to other entrepreneurs and folks that think so big and are really taking action to implement these things, because it will make a difference.
Hey, can I share something else?
Oh, of course.
No, I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm very, how can I say that? I have a feeling of being very, very grateful for the United States, for your country. You have no idea how well I was welcomed when I was an exchange student playing basketball. And that transformed my life. I used to be a very shy guy. I'm a tall man. And when you are tall, but you are like 14 to 15, it's not a very good combination, because
it's a little awkward.
you know what I mean, right? So, but then in the U.S., you know what? People were higher in the U.S. as well, higher than in Brazil because of, economics and all that. But I had such an amazing experience that it just transformed my being, my life. And one of the personal goals that I have, that's going to happen one day, I have a plan to take somehow, I'm not sure yet how, but somehow to take the company to the United States, to your market. And I'm totally willing and welcome to anyone who would like to share some ideas, help out. Marcio, the one that reintroduced us, is thinking with me about that. We still don't have a plan. We just have an idea. But anyhow, I'm able to serve back what I received in such an abundance. I would be a very, very fulfilled man.
Well, I am certain you will get a lot of folks reaching out, and you'll probably hear from me as well, because definitely would love to explore some of the ideas there. As we're sort of wrapping up, I'll ask you my now infamous last question, infamous to me only. And that is, if you could go back to your younger self and give yourself one piece of advice, one thing that you wish you had known then that you have learned through your time of building this company, what do you think that one piece of advice to your younger self would be?
Patience and respect to the timing of others. Patience as an advice to yourself. Good things takes time to be built. You can build a company, a practice on a flash. But I really believe that huge, big, sustainable things are built on fire. And that takes time. And respect to the timing of others, because when you are an entrepreneur, it's not about you only. It's also about the people who will be connected to your vision. You will go way further if you respect the timing of others. Those would be the advices.
I love it. Well, Andre, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the show. I'm so thankful that you took the time, but we're just so open in sharing all of this wonderful information. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Alan. I mean, it's such an honor. I really have to thank you so much. It's like a gift that you just gave me by having the chance to talk to you, talk to your audience. So a huge, huge respect from me to you, and as huge thanks to you, your team, and everybody who's doing the job that we do.
Well, thanks so much. This month's podcasts are brought to you by life insurance innovator Haven Life. Haven Life Insurance Agency offers the first non-commission term life insurance that your clients can buy entirely online. The prices are affordable, the application process is simple, and the policies are fully backed by Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company. Plus, some qualified, healthy applicants can even be approved for coverage without the need for a medical exam. This is life insurance the modern way. Visit havenlife.com/advisors to learn more about how Haven Life is partnering with fee-only financial advisors. Please note that the opinions expressed by participants on the podcast are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of Haven Life. Visit havenlife.com/advisors. Be sure to join our VIP community at xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP to hang out with other XYPN radio listeners, ask questions for future mailbag episodes with myself and Kitsis, and to finally find a community of like-minded financial advisors. Thanks so much for joining me today. We'll see you next time.
You're not alone, and you're not crazy. It's scary starting, building, and growing your own financial planning firm. And that's why we put together a free private community just for you, the Cutting Edge Financial Planner. Go to xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP or text XYPN Radio to 33344 and join a network of thousands ready to change the lives of Gen X and Gen Y clients.